You know, through the whole healthcare debate, through the Obamacare debate, people were rightfully indignant about the way a 2,700-page bill was rammed down the throats of the American people against their will, and how Nancy Pelosi and the others gave members of Congress 72 hours to read it. And it really is shocking. Until you think about, how's Illinois' budget fared? And how much input do the Republicans, or really anybody outside of the Madigan machine, have on that budget that's rammed down the throats of the people of the state of Illinois? Do you think that Barack Obama just thought of that idea from the top of his head? You know, this is the way the state of Illinois has been run. And so it's this year, people are waking up to that. And I think it's a terrific opportunity, and I'm going to try to keep this short, but I think it's a good time for us to examine what is the purpose of government. Because I think this is a good time for us to really re-examine exactly what it is that we expect out of our government. And the best way to look is at our founding documents. You know, the Constitution is our governing document, but our founding document is the Declaration of Independence. And we all know that famous line. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, wait, let me back up here for a second. What did that sentence say again? That they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Who endowed them? And inalienable, what does that mean? Unchangeable. Now, the second, everybody knows that line. What's the next line after that? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, the purpose of government is to protect those inalienable rights, those, dare I say it, well, Jefferson said it, so I guess I can say it, those God-given rights that all of us are entitled to by our very nature as human beings. In other words, the purpose of government is not to provide all of us with health insurance for free. The purpose of government is not to regulate our toilets and how much per flush we're allowed. The purpose of government is not to tell us what kind of light bulbs we can purchase and what kind we can't, and then when we do purchase those light bulbs that they want us to purchase, how we're supposed to dispose of it if we happen to break them. You know, the purpose of government, once again, is to protect those rights that we have by our very nature as human beings. And the framers were very serious about that, and they to reinforce that point, they made sure that there was an amendment to the Constitution known as the 10th Amendment in the Bill of Rights, which says, I'm going to quote it here so I don't get it wrong, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. That's where we get our concept of enumerated powers. And what it says basically is if it's not in the Constitution, if, more specifically, if Article 1 of the Constitution does not specifically give Congress the authority to pass these laws, then they have no right to pass these laws. And now it's a radical concept, which shows us how far we've gone. For 100 years or so, it was not. You know, I have a quote here from James Madison in 1792. Congress appropriated $15,000 to help out some French refugees. And you think, well, that's awfully nice of Congress to do that. James Madison was furious. And he wrote, quote, I cannot undertake to lay my finger on that article of the Constitution which granted a right to Congress of expending on objects of benevolence the money of their constituents. He saw what was happening. He wasn't mad about those poor refugees being helped out. He saw what was coming down the road. And for over 100 years, we kind of held the line on that. And once again, these are things that would be shocking for politicians to say today. You know, President Franklin Pierce in 1854 vetoed a bill that was going to help out the mentally ill. What's wrong with the bill? Well, he wrote, "I cannot find any authority in the Constitution for public charity." In 1887, President Grover Cleveland vetoed a bill to aid drought-stricken victims in Texas. He wrote, "I feel obliged to withhold my approval of the plan to indulge in benevolent and charitable sentiment through the appropriation of public funds. I find no warrant for such an appropriation in the Constitution." Now, yeah, you know, once again, I mean, it's too much to expect any politician right now to refuse to help out a group that's struggling. But the fact of the matter remains that for over 100 years in this nation, up until this last century, people very, very much took seriously the Bill of Rights, and they took seriously the 10th Amendment. You know, then we had Woodrow Wilson and his FTC and the income tax and FDR, who, you know, put a gun to the head of the Supreme Court and said, basically, you know, you pass my New Deal or I'm going to stack the court. And since then, the Supreme Court has found their clause, the Commerce Clause. The Commerce Clause says that you can, the Congress can appropriate money for the regulation of interstate commerce. All of a sudden, everything became interstate commerce. And you talk to any constitutional law professor, and there's no limit in their minds of what constitutes interstate commerce. And that is sort of that's the barn door that was opened that allowed, that's brought us here today. You know, we've had presidents in both parties to blame. You know, certainly, you know, Richard Nixon did his part to expand government, LBJ with the Great Society, George Bush with his spending before the president we have right now. But right now, we look at what's going on. We look at that $7.5 trillion and that $20 trillion, and people are waking up and people are scared. But also people are energized, and they want to stop it. They want to take this country back. That's what we can do. And we can take it back because people are energized and people are waking up, and this is our opportunity to explain to everybody that the purpose of government is not to perpetuate a bureaucracy. The purpose of government is to help out the individual. The purpose of government is to stand up for you and I, the small businessman, the entrepreneur, the person that's trying to make their own way in society. The purpose of government is to get out of the way of each and every one of us as we do what we can to achieve the maximum that God has given us. You know, I think another casualty of the last couple hundred years is our sense of purpose, of common purpose. You know, Alexis de Tocqueville in Democracy in America wrote, and I'm going to quote it again, "How is it possible that society should escape destruction if the moral tie is not strengthened in proportion as the political tie is relaxed? And what can be done with the people who are their own masters if they are not submitted to the deity?" And we've all heard this quote on the internet, and some people say it's from de Tocqueville, others say give other sources. "A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury."
Right. Right.
And see, we have a dual purpose here. We have an opportunity to educate people, to wake people up, to say this is not the country that our founders envisioned. Our founders envisioned limited government that allows each and every one of us in freedom to achieve our full potential in life.